I have a plate here which is subjected to loading as shown here, and then I need to find the displacements. I need to find the displacements at this node 2 and at this node 3. This node 2 will get displaced in this direction, in x direction. It cannot get displaced in y direction, but node 3 can get displaced in x direction as well as y direction. And also I need to find the stresses, elemental stresses developed in this plate. And then he's saying we may neglect the body force in comparison to the external applied force. So the one way of solving this problem is by considering it to be a two-dimensional problem, since these sides are very large compared to its thickness. And then if I want to solve it using finite element method, I need to discretize it into some element, and in this case we'll be using this constant strain triangle element. So the step one is to discretize the given geometry, and to do that what we can do is we will discretize this plate into two CST element, and I can do that by this way. So what I will do is I will call this as my element 1, whereas this as my element 2, and then this node number will remain same. This will be node 1, this will be node 2, this will be node 3, and this will be node 4. These are global node, these numberings are in global coordinate system. And then I have here a global reference axis, that is x and y axis. In fact, I should have drawn it here. This will be x and y axis. So with respect to this positive x and y axis, what we'll do is now we'll start marking the nodal displacements and the force terms and the nodal force terms. So what I can do is, since this is my node 1, I will call the displacement at this node as u1, and the vertical displacement as v1. Similarly, at this place, this will be my u2, and this will be my v2. This is u2 and this is v2. Similarly, the nodal displacement at 3 will be, this will be my u3, and this will be my v3, and similarly this will be u4, and this will be v4. So we have taken care of all the nodal displacements at all the 4 nodes. Now similarly, the way we have marked the nodal displacement, we need to also mark the nodal forces. And this force at this node 3, there is one force which is given as 10 kilonewton. So in terms of Newton, it will be 10,000 Newton. Similarly, this 1 kilonewton will be 1000 Newton, and this will be again 1000 Newton. So this is how a discretized body will look like after discretizing it into two elements, marking all the nodes, and then writing the nodal displacement and the forces and the nodal forces at each node. So with this, what we'll do is first we'll find the nodal displacements at node 2 and 3, and then while doing the post processing, we will find the element stresses, which we will, to find this element stresses, we will require this displacement at this node 2 and 3. Now before this, let us just summarize. So we had seen all these formulas first right in the beginning. While studying this CST element, we had derived the shape functions in terms of global coordinate system, and then we had derived the shape functions in terms of the local and natural coordinate systems. Then we had derived the strain nodal displacement matrix, which is also called as B matrix, which is very important for this problem, wherein with this strain displacement problem, with this strain displacement matrix, we will be able to find the stiffness matrix. Of course, this D matrix are the two matrix which is for plane stress and plane strain case. Since this problem, our problem is plane stress, we will be using this as our D matrix. And then we had seen, in case if the forces are given in terms of body forces or traction forces, how to convert them to the point forces or concentrated forces, which is not, which we will be not using in this problem as such, but we might do one more problem to look at these things. So basically in this problem we'll be using this matrix, we'll be using this stiffness matrix expression, we'll be using this B matrix, will be using this area matrix A, and then we'll solve this problem now. So first what we'll do is we'll find the nodal displacement at node 2 and 3. So to do that, here, so this is, we know that this is our force displacement equation. This is in terms of the global coordinate. Now the forces will be the forces, the term forces term will be given as fx1 fy1 fx2 fy2 fx3 fy3 fx4 fy4. That is the forces at each node in both the direction x and y direction. Since we have here 4 nodes, we will have here altogether 4 force components, and since we have 2 directions, it will be 4 multiplied by 2, total 8 force components. Similarly, here we have the nodal displacement components, that is u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3 u4 v4. All this we have nicely marked here, and then this will be the stiffness matrix which will relate this applied forces to the displacements. Now the stiffness matrix will be the this is the global stiffness matrix, and the global stiffness matrix will be the combination of the stiffness matrix of element 1 and stiffness matrix of element 2. Since we have discretized this given problem into 2 elements, element 1 and element 2, there will be stiffness matrix for element 1 and there will be stiffness matrix for element 2. So what we will do is first we'll consider element 1, and we will find the stiffness matrix for element 1, and then similarly we'll consider element 2, we'll find the stiffness matrix for element 2. We will combine them to form the global stiffness matrix, and let us see how to proceed. So we know that this is our equation to find the stiffness matrix, that is B transpose D, B thickness times area. Now the B matrix, as we had seen just now, or we had derived it in detail in our previous videos, comes to this, where y23, y31 and so on, these are nothing but, this will be y2 minus y3, this will be y3 minus y1 and so on. And then we have here a determinant of j, and the determinant of j comes to nothing but 2 times the area. And to calculate the area, we know this is our formula to calculate the area. Now this all we are doing for element number 1. For element number 1, so element number 1 has 3 nodes, node 1, node 2, node 3, and then these nodes are in terms of global node numbering. So these are our global node numbers, and but here we want, when we try to study each individual element, we would like to have everything in terms of local node numbers. But here luckily what happens is the global node number and local node numbers will be same. So if I say this as my first local node, this as my second local node, and this as my third local node, it happens here that the local node number and the global node number is same. Similarly, the local node number and global node number is same, and even here at the node number 3, local and global node number matches. So here there shouldn't be much problem, but there will be some problem when we will be analyzing the element, when we will be analyzing this element number 2. Let us see that later on, but here for time being, let us concentrate on this matrix now, B matrix. So before going for this B matrix, let us first calculate what will be this J. J is nothing but it comes to 2 times the area, and the area matrix is given as half of this, where 1, 2 and 3 are the local node numbers. And then if we see here, if we properly mark these coordinates, this will become 0, 0, right? This node number will be at 0, 0, this will be at 100, 0, and this will be at 100, 50. So this is what has been marked here. This node number, the coordinate of this node number is 0, the coordinate of this node 1 is 0, 0, the coordinate of this second node is 100, 0, and the coordinate of this node number 3 is 100, 50. So while calculating the area matrix, we know that this x1 and y1 are 0 comma 0, whereas x2 and y2 are 100 comma 0, so this will be 100 comma 0, whereas x3 and y3 are 100 comma 50, so this will be 100 and this will be 50. If you calculate this will come to 2500 mm square. So area is 2500 mm square, therefore j, determinant of j will be 2 times area, which will be 5000. Now let us calculate the remaining terms of B matrix. So y23 will be y2 minus y3. So if you want, what you can do is you can just go on writing here what are x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3, or you can just see from here also if you don't want to go back to these coordinates again and again. So our x1, x2, x3s are 0, 100, 100, y1, y2, y3s are 0, 0, 50. So y2 minus y3 will be 0 minus 50, so this becomes minus 50. y3 1 will be y3 minus y1, so y3 minus y1 will be 50 minus 0, so this becomes 50, and so on. So once I calculate all these values of y23s and x32s and so on, I can write this B matrix. So I have got all the required things. I have got B matrix, I have got A matrix, and then I want D matrix. Now since this is a plane stress problem, we are using the plane stress condition. So for D matrix, for the D matrix for the plane stress case comes out to be this, which we had seen last time. Now if I substitute the values of E and nu, that is Poisson's ratio, which are given already here, this E and Poisson's ratio is given in this problem. So if I substitute those values, here, I should get my D matrix as this. And then finally the thickness is given as 10 mm. Now I know all these quantities. I know this B matrix, I know this D matrix, I know this area was calculated here, right? And then this thickness is 10 mm, and then this B transpose is nothing but just the transpose of this B matrix, which we have already obtained. So since B is this, the transpose of this B matrix will be this. Now once I substitute all this matrix here in this K, in the expression of stiffness matrix, so this was our B transpose, this was our B transpose, this was our D matrix, this was our B matrix, and this was our thickness multiplied by area. So this is thickness, this is area. So size of this matrix is 6 by 3, this is 3 by 3, this is 3 by 6, and from here we can easily understand that the size of the stiffness matrix will be nothing but the size of the stiffness matrix will be 6 by 6 matrix. What you can do is you can first multiply this matrix with this matrix. You can bring out all these terms here on the left hand side, multiply them, and that should come to this, and then you can go on multiplying this with this matrix, because since this is 6 by 3 and this is 3 by 3, you will get the multiplication of these two matrices as 6 by 3, and then this is 3 by 6, then you can multiply that 6 by 3 matrix with this 3 by 6 matrix, and then finally you should get this as a 6 by 6 matrix. So this is the stiffness matrix for element 1. So what we have done here is we have calculated the stiffness matrix for element 1, for this element, but the global stiffness matrix is a combination of the stiffness matrix of element 1 as well as the stiffness matrix of element 2. But what we have done is we have calculated the stiffness matrix of only element 1. So what we will do next is we will try to calculate the stiffness matrix of element 2 here. So the stiffness matrix of element 2 can be again calculated by determining B matrix, by determining D matrix, and by determining the area matrix. So area matrix is again same, but now here one thing which we need to check very carefully is here our global node numbers were 1, 3 and 4, but the local node numbers again will be 1, 2 and 3, right? So here wherever there was the terms like this was supposed to be y23, this was supposed to be y31 and so on, because that was in terms of the local node numbers. But here what is happening is when we have a local node number S2, the global node number is 3. So wherever there will be now number 2, that will be replaced by 3, and wherever there will be number 3, that will be replaced by number 4. 1 will remain same as 1, but wherever there was while deriving this, wherever there was number 2, that will be replaced in this problem for this element, it will be replaced by number 3, and wherever there was number 3, that will be replaced by number 4. So this is what we need to take care of. Even here, this was x1 y1 x2 y2 x3 y3, but wherever there was x2 y2, that will be replaced by now x3 y3, right? And wherever there was x3 y3, that will be replaced now by x4 y4. This is what we need to take care of while solving this matrix for different elements. So D matrix and D matrix will remain same. D matrix is independent of the coordinate. It is for a plane stress case, it remains same. So once I get this B matrix, similarly I can find the B transpose matrix. Once I get the B matrix, I can find the B transpose matrix. I have here a D matrix which was already calculated. Then I have a B matrix here, and then thickness times this area again turns out to be same. So after putting all this in this fashion, I should get the stiffness matrix of second element as this. So this will be the stiffness matrix of the second element. Again, only thing what you need to take care of is to map the global node numbers with that of the local node numbers and accordingly substitute it here. So that is the most important thing as we go with many different number of elements. And then once I get this, what I can do is I will have to arrange this now. I will have to combine them to form the local to form the global stiffness matrix. Now before this, if you remember, we had derived this. We had come out with this as our stiffness matrix for first element. Now when we say this is a stiffness matrix for first element, we had here the node numbers as 1, 2 and 3. So this will correspond to u1 v1, this will correspond to u2 v2, and this will correspond to u3 v3. Similarly u1 v1, u2 v2, and u3, this will be v3, since I had the global node numbers as 1, 2 and 3. So and then this matrix which we have derived now for the second element, the node numbers for the second element are 1, 3 and 1, 3 and 4. So this term will correspond to u1 v1, this term will correspond to u3 v3 now, right? This term will correspond to u3 v3, whereas this term will correspond to u4 v4. Again the same thing, wherever there should have been number 2, that will be replaced by number 3, and wherever there should have been number 3, that will be replaced now by number 4. So similarly this will be u1 v1, u3 v3, and this will be u4 v4. Now to assemble the global stiffness matrix, what we will do is, first we will have to frame the matrix considering all the nodal degrees of freedom, that is u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3 u4 v4. Similarly u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3 u4 v4. And then all these terms which are shown in green, are nothing but the terms which we had taken from our stiffness matrix 1, that is K1. K1 had u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3, right? And u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3. So that matrix in green, all the terms in green are directly taken from the stiffness matrix 1. And then all these numbers in pink are taken from this matrix. Now where we can easily come to know this value will go to in global stiffness matrix, this value will have to place it where there is u1 and u1. So u1 and u1, so it should go here, right? Similarly this term, zero term, will go in where there is v1 and u1. So v1 and u1 is this, so this zero term will go here. Now there is no node number 2 in this second stiffness matrix. So for wherever there are number twos, or the nodal degrees of freedom are with respect to second node, there it will be empty, there won't be any value from this matrix. Then I have here u3 v1, so u3 u1, sorry, u3 u1, and that is again 0, so plus 0. Then I have here v3 u1, v3 u1 as v3 u1 as minus 3, so I have put this value as minus 3. Similarly, u4 u1 is minus 6. There are no values from the first stiffness matrix because there the node were only up to 3. So this fourth node is in stiffness matrix 2 of element 2, stiffness matrix of element 2, and so therefore there will be only this term minus 6, and then v4 u1 will be the value 3. So with this, if you just go on filling this matrix, I should get this, finally I should get this stiffness matrix, and then finally we'll have to of course add them. So this will be plus 10, this will be minus 5, and so on. This will be 16 plus 1.5, that is 17.5, and so on. Once I add them up, finally I will get this as my K matrix, or global stiffness matrix. Right from here to here, this will be my global stiffness matrix, and then this we will be multiplying by the nodal degrees of freedom u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3 u4 v4 to obtain the force matrix fx1 fy1 fx2 fy2 fx3 fy3 fx4 fy4. For this, what we can do is we can again refer our discretized model, this model. So this will be my v1 u1 v1 u2 v2 u3 v3 u4 v4, and then similarly the force terms, here the force terms will be f1 fx1 fy1. This will be, here the force term will be fx2, and this will be fy2. Similarly, this will be fx3, and this will be fy3, and this will be fx4, and this will be fy4. So these are the terms which will have to substitute here now in this equation. So, and then after this we will have to use all this, the given boundary conditions. Now if you look again at this discretized model, we know that since these are the hinge supports, this u1 and then this v1 and then also this v2 and then this v4 and then also this u4, right? So u1 v1 v2 v4 u4, all these terms will be 0 because there won't be any displacement in this direction at this node, and at this node in vertical direction. So u1 v1 v2 and then u4 v4, all these terms will be 0. So these are nothing but these are our essential boundary conditions. So these are our essential boundary conditions. And then in place of fx2, in place of this fx2, we will have the applied force, that is 1000 Newton. In place of fx2 we will have this applied force of 1000 Newton. In place of fx3 we will again have the applied force of 1000 Newton. And in place of fy3, look carefully, in place of fy3 was in the positive direction, positive reference axis y, but the applied load is in the opposite direction. The applied load is in opposite direction to that of the positive y axis. Because of that, fy3, which was in the positive y axis, will be minus 10,000 Newton. So these are our essential boundary conditions, these are our natural boundary condition, and we will have to use these boundary conditions now further in our force displacement equation. We'll have to use them here. So we had seen that u1 v1 v2 u4 v4 are 0, and fx2 fx3 comes to be 1000 Newton, whereas fy3 comes to be minus 10,000 Newton. So in place of all this, in place of all these values, we'll have to substitute these values now. In place of u1 v1, I'll have to substitute it as 0. In place of v2, I will have to substitute it as 0. In place of u4 v4, I will have to substitute it as 0. Similarly here, fx2 and then fx3, I will have to substitute it as 1000 1000, fy3 minus 10,000. Now once we do this, what we can do is, since these terms are 0, I can just mercilessly go on neglecting or cutting out this rows. For example, since I have your first term u1 as 0, I can just neglect this row and this column. Similarly, since this second term is 0, that is, since v1 is 0, I can just neglect this term and this term. Since this is 0, I can just neglect this term and this term. Similarly, since this is 0, I can just neglect this term and this term. See, and similarly, since the last term is 0, I can just neglect this term and this term. This is one way of handling the given boundary conditions. So what has happened here is, along with this common term, that is 14 multiplied by 10 to the power 4, what has happened is, the terms which are remained is this, and then we have this term, similarly this term, and this term, and this term. So this is what has been remained from the global stiffness matrix now, along with this u2, u3, v3, and the applied forces 1000 and minus 10,000. One thing if you might have observed while solving different finite element problem, that if we have the essential boundary conditions, if we have an essential boundary condition, we cannot apply at that node the natural boundary conditions. And then if the essential boundary conditions are not present at any node, at that place we can apply the natural boundary condition. For example, here, if the when the displacements were specified at some node, we cannot specify the forces at that node. And if the displacements are not specified at some node, we can very well specify the forces at that node. This is one point we need to understand while solving the finite element problem. I mean the problems using finite element method. And then finally, what will remain here in this matrix now, after applying the boundary condition in this equation, after applying the boundary condition, has been written here now in terms of matrix. That is, whatever values were remaining, that has been put together along with this common term, and we have multiplied it with these displacements now, u2, u3, v3, and this should be equal to 1000 and minus 10,000, that those which are the force terms. Now you can use here, at this point you can use here any method of solving this matrix. You can even take the inverse of this matrix, multiply it this side, and you should be able to find u2, u3, v3. You can also use LU decomposition method or Gauss elimination method, which we had seen in our earlier videos. You can use even those methods, but finally we need to solve this and determine u2, u3, v3, which will get it as this. So this completes our first step of finding the nodal displacements. So nodal displacement u2, u3, and v3 turns out to be this. Next, what we need to do is we need to find the element stresses. So we can do that by using our stress strain equation. Our stress strain equation is nothing but sigma is equal to d times epsilon. For plane stress case, we know what is this d matrix. Now further, what we can do is this epsilon or the strain matrix can be obtained by using this B matrix, that is the strain nodal displacement matrix, and then multiplying it by the nodal displacements. And then this element stresses, we'll have to find it for two elements, that is element 1, and also we have element 2 with the numbers as 1, 2, 3, 4, if you remember, right? So what we'll do is this strain matrix B multiplied by delta, we will substitute it here, and then finally we will get this stress, the expression for stress as D times B multiplied by delta. For element 1, this D matrix is the same matrix which we had obtained earlier. Please note that this B matrix is for now element 1, we had two B matrix, one for element 1 and one for element 2. But since we are obtaining now the stress values for element 1, we need to use the B matrix which was obtained for element 1. And similarly here now we have the delta or the nodal displacement terms. For element 1 it will be u1 v1, u2 v2, u3 v3. We know that u1 v1 is 0 0, u2 is what we have obtained, v2 is again 0, and u3 v3 are the values which we have obtained. So once we multiply all these terms, once we multiply all these terms, I should get this sigma as sigma x, sigma y, tau xy, that is the normal stress in x direction, normal stress in y direction, and in shear direction for element 1, for element 1, that is with node number 1, 2 and 3. This will be my stresses. And since this is a CST element, constant strain triangle element, CST element, right, constant strain triangle element, since the strain remains constant in this element and stress is nothing but this D matrix times, which is again constant, times the strain, these stresses will also remain constant in this element. So the stress will be, for in element 1 it will be this many megapascals. Similarly for element 2, again what we'll have to do is we'll have to write down the B matrix for second element which we had obtained earlier while solving this problem. Again now here we need to take care of this nodal displacement terms. For element 2, again if you remember, this will be node number 1, this will be node number 3 and node number 4. So in place of local coordinate, in place of local coordinate 1, local node number 1, we have the global node number as 1, but in place of local node number 2 we have global node number as 3, in place of local node number 3 we have global node number as 4. So whenever there will be u2 v2, we will have to write it as u3 v3, and wherever there will be u3 v3, we will have to write it as u4 v4. So after this we know that u1 v1 is 0, u3 v3 we have obtained the values, and u4 v4 is 0. So once we obtain all these values, we need to further carry out the multiplication in this form. By the way, this will be 3 by 3 size. The size of this B matrix is 3 by 6, and size of this displacement vector is 6 by 1. So finally we should get the size of this stress matrix as 3 by 1, which turns out to be a column vector of size 3 by 1. So this is how we can solve a given plate problem or any two-dimensional problem by using CST element. Only thing what we need to take care of is, as the number of elements will increase, we'll have to only take care of the mapping of the local node numbers and the global node numbers. So in this case, but the forces applied were directly the concentrated forces or the point forces which were directly applied at the nodes. In case if the forces are applied somewhere here like this, we will see now in next problem what we'll do is we'll see how to distribute, how to allocate this given distributed forces on its adjacent nodes in next problem.